welcome to Like Maria. This is another of our Zoom videos about Macbeth, and particularly today we're talking about the relationship between Lady Macbeth and the witches. So Maria, lots of critics suggest that the witches and Lady Macbeth are very similar, and this is something you touched on before. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think absolutely these weird sisters, as they're referred to, and Lady Macbeth have a great deal in common. They are both sought out by Macbeth in order to be kind of advisors. They push him towards taking action. And of course, they're both strong female characters, one might suggest, and they're kind of not controlled by Macbeth. So even when Macbeth returns to ask for more information to the witches, they hold back information, and he comes away unsatisfied, really, in some ways. And he has to threaten them. And with Lady Macbeth, she's not controlled. She takes the bloody daggers out of Macbeth's hands and goes and creates more evidence on the guards outside the door. So I think they're kind of out of his control in some ways. So from both these aspects, from their gender, from being female, and for pushing him on and acting as plot devices as well to make him escalate his actions, they have very many similarities.
So you mentioned gender there. How significant is that?
So really, really significant here. We have the famous line where Lady Macbeth says, "Unsex me." She wants to be evil, and she considers feminine attributes to be kind of more good or honourable, and she has to lose them in order to be evil. She wants her milk to turn to gall, and she wants to pour her words into Macbeth's ears. And so this would have been something that was considered, well, firstly, very unladylike to go and fight, and secondly, something that was perhaps connected with the evil woman in the Bible, Eve, who corrupted the morally good Adam, and was the temptress who tempted Adam to eat the fruit. So there's a lot surrounding Lady Macbeth of these gender issues. And of course we have Queen Elizabeth's speech at Tilbury, where she talks about how she has a female body, but she has the heart of a man, and she wants to be like a man in her kind of warlike exploits. So I think gender is very important there with Lady Macbeth, and also, of course, with the witches. They are described as having beards. They are talked about as weird sisters on the one hand, but they are supernatural, so perhaps genderless in some aspects. We know that they would have often been played by boys or men. Even now, today, there are some productions that do that, but certainly in Shakespeare's time, women couldn't act on stage. So Lady Macbeth and the witches would have been played by young boys. And there is this questioning as to their gender, really. And they are described as hags, as old women, as women kind of who are not good in society anymore. They have lost their gender in many ways because they have got old, and therefore they can't do the things that women are expected to do in society. So it's really important, the question of gender in this play.
So we meet the witches famously in that opening sequence. You know, everybody knows that double boiling trouble speech. But where else do we find them? What other scenes with the witches would you say are significant?
Well, of course, as you say, they're very important in the opening, but then they sort of go to the back of our minds for a little bit. I would say the other key scene to look at really is Act 4, Scene 1, where Macbeth returns for more advice, as it were. Just previous to this, we've seen them doing some chanting and dancing, so a lot of useful for Shakespeare. That is very useful for entertainment purposes. We've seen that Hecate is kind of visiting them to make sure that they are clear about their purpose. But also the witches come out of iambic pentameter. So when the witches are talking, they're talking in this kind of shorter verse with some very simplistic rhyming going on there. So they are set apart from the other characters by their language and by what they're doing, obviously. They also talk of things that they're putting in the pot, rather unpleasant exotic things. They talk also about Jews, Turks and Tartars. So they have this kind of exoticness and otherness to them. They're part of a world, certainly in Shakespeare's time, his reference to Jews and Tartars, etc., was reference to others, reference to alien peoples who were considered to be suspicious. So they're very much associated with that sort of thing. But of course, Macbeth in this scene, Act 4, Scene 1, returns to them to garner further information. He's lost a bit of confidence, or he needs more information, and is worried about who is going to succeed him. So he goes back and he gets these sort of visions of the armed head, the bloody child, and the child brandishing a tree, which, as the audience progresses through the play, we then see as significant. So we see the witches, their purpose here is to kind of signpost us and to alert us to the interweaving of the supernatural world with Macbeth's fate. And we certainly see this in the procession, for example, with Banquo following, that it moves Macbeth and tries his patience, because he's done all this evil, etc., and he thought he'd got rid of Banquo, but there are going to be problems in who takes the crown in Scotland after him. So that's a really important scene to look at the predictions and look at this interweaving between the supernatural world and how Macbeth kind of shapes his further actions on the advice or the statements from the witches here.
Okay, thank you very much. You've reminded me just how entertaining and exciting those scenes actually are. But thank you, Maria, and thank you to everyone watching at home. We hope you've enjoyed today's video. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.